Hello ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary compatriots. I'm Rafe Rickard and welcome back to Superhero Kill Counts. Today's movie is one that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. It's an all-time classic of the genre, with some going as far as to say it's the best superhero movie ever made. That's right, today we're tackling the spectacular, the magnificent, the amazing Spider-Man 2. That joke never gets old, just like Gwen Stacy. Spider-Man 2 was released in 2004, with Sam Raimi returning to direct. With the first movie's success, it was a no-brainer that a sequel would be in the works, and after a few rather, shall we say, interesting first drafts, when Octavius is dying with his tentacles, he wants to extract Spider-Man's spine to save him, so what the fuck? And a close call in which Tobey Maguire was almost recast with Jake Gyllenhaal, they ended up putting all the pieces together to make what I think is the best film they could have possibly made given the circumstances. I mean, come on, what else is there to say? It's Spider-Man 2. Right off the bat, you know this movie's hardcore. Spider-Man 2. No subtitles, no obfuscation, just a big old number 2 to say, hey, remember that first movie that you loved? Well, this is the second one, and you're gonna love it even more, or else a bunch of Reddit nerds are gonna track you down and set your house on fire. Anyway, that's enough introduction. We're here to count kills, not gush over superhero movies from 20 years ago. But hey, I can do both. Like the first one, this movie also starts with 3 minutes of opening credits. However, it's slightly more forgivable this time because they're played over some very nice artistic renderings recapping the first movie, done in the iconic art style of famed comic illustrator Alex Ross. And if that wasn't enough deja vu for you, we also get some more of that opening narration from Peter, while he daydreams on his moped like the absolute goober that he is. 2 years after the whole Goblin ordeal, Peter's working for real-life New York pizzeria Joe's Pizza as a delivery boy. His boss starts hounding him for never being on time and gives him his next order, with the catch that if he's even a minute late with this one, it's donezo. Hey, I wonder if this delivery's for Icy Wiener. Pete tries his best to make it in time, but with New York traffic being, well, New York traffic, he's gonna need to find a faster route. Cue the music! And while swinging through the air at high speeds may seem like the ideal way to deliver pizza, our hero's moral instincts kick in, causing him to save a couple of children and costing him precious time. Now, I've heard of moonlighting, but this is ridiculous. He makes it to his destination,
pizza time,
but as expected, he's late again. And I mean, even if he wasn't, those pizzas were thrown around, webbed, and crushed all to hell. Emily Deschanel shouldn't have to pay for them regardless of whether he was late or not. Back at work, Peter's boss proves that he was destined to become a commander of the Fire Nation someday. You get it? Because he fires him, and his actor was in The Last Airbender. And adding to Pete's misfortunes, Jameson is only interested in paying him for pictures of Spider-Man, which means more clickbait Daily Bugle headlines about what a menace to society he is. I will say though, I love how comfortable Peter's getting at haggling with JJ.
I'll give you 150.
300.
That's outrageous. Done.
It's just nice to see him stand up for himself every now and then. Good job, Pete. Not like it matters since he doesn't get the money anyway. And in a double whammy offense, he's late for class and Sam Raimi has the nerve to whack him upside the head with a bag. And I thought he only abused Bruce Campbell on set. His teacher, Dr. Connors, chastises him for missing class and his slipping grades, and tells him to finish his overdue research paper or he'll fail him. Oof, cold-blooded. And to add insult to injury, well, I say injury, it's more like brutally kicking him while he's lying on the floor in the Family Guy death pose. All of this bullshit is happening on Peter's birthday of all days. I swear, Peter Parker in this movie is one bus away from becoming the hash-slinging slasher.
And then he got hit by a bus. And at his funeral, they fired him!
As a birthday present, Harry, who's now heading special projects at Oscorp, offers Peter the chance to meet one of his idols, Dr. Otto Octavius, who is coincidentally the same man Peter's writing his paper on. Seems like his luck's beginning to turn. What could possibly go wrong? After the party, Peter's string of bad luck continues when he learns that Aunt May's house is being foreclosed on and MJ is dating someone else, all while constantly being hounded for rent by his landlord, Mr. Ditkovich, which, yes, is a reference to Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditko. So Harry introduces Peter to Dr. Octavius, played by notorious character actor Alfred Molina, but even a meeting with his hero gets off on the wrong foot.
You're a Connors student. Tells me you're brilliant. He also tells me you're lazy.
Trying to do better.
The tension begins to subside swiftly, however, when he realizes Peter is just as big a nerd as he is, and the two get to talking like old chums. He even gives Peter some relationship advice, citing the way he met his wife Rosie.
But if you want to get a woman to fall in love with you, feed her poetry.
Pete plans to put his new literary knowledge to use when he shows up to see MJ in the new play she's performing in. Well, it's new to her anyway. The importance of being earnest is actually quite old. At least he would put it to use if he didn't get swept up in yet another job for Spider-Man. He manages to capture some armed thugs, but at the expense of his date. And not to mention being denied entrance by the world's sexiest usher with a remarkably strict dedication to the job. Also, he's literally Mysterio, right? I mean, Bruce Campbell shows up in all 3 of these movies as different characters, and he literally says this.
It helps maintain the illusion
Like, he has to be Mysterio. Otherwise, there is a universe out there with 3 different people who look remarkably like Bruce Campbell, and I'm not living in it, which is a crime in and of itself. Peter tries to clear his head by doing some Spider-Manning, but ends up a little worse for wear when his web stopped working mid-swing. You see, this isn't the kind of thing that would happen with web shooters, Petey. You might want to invest. Although it does lead to the iconic scene where Spider-Man has to take the most awkward elevator ride in history to get to ground level. The next day, Pete tries to explain himself to MJ over the phone, but all of his excuses fall flat because he can't tell her the truth about his extracurricular activities. And speaking of extracurricular activities, Dr. Octavius finally unveils his new invention, a machine meant to harness the power of the sun in order to create an infinite supply of renewable energy. Sounds pretty dangerous, right? Not to worry though, because he's created a set of robotic arms, which he'll use to hold the sun in place for him. He's not going to touch that thing with his bare hands. Come on, imagine a sunburn.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
A valid point is raised concerning the AI in the arms overpowering the good doctor's mental fortitude and acting on their own free will. He brushes this off, however, by pointing out the exposed microchip on the back of his neck, which prohibits the arms from acting against his wishes. I'm so glad he took such strenuous precautions to make this experiment so safe and totally not dangerous for everyone involved. I mean, he only conjures up the literal fucking sun, and the only piece of safety equipment in the building is a pair of sunglasses for himself! Honestly, this whole place reeks of an OSHA violation. Also, Daniel Day Kim is here. He says like 2 lines. That's just really interesting to me. The experiment starts off without a hitch, but things start to go a little wonky when the fucking sun starts drawing metal objects to it and begins overloading, which again is something he knew could happen and yet made no effort to avoid. The machine starts to go completely haywire, tearing the walls apart and almost killing Harry, before Spider-Man steps in to pull the plug. Otto knocks the wall crawler away from his device, which ends up inadvertently leading to his wife's death, with Rosie being slashed by debris from a shattered window. He turns his back to the machine, once again revealing that goddamn exposed microchip, and it ends up getting deep fried, grafting the arms to Octavius's body and removing his ability to control them altogether. Spider-Man finally puts an end to this perilous presentation, and the authorities arrive on the scene. Otto's carted off to the hospital, and Harry is left in a bit of a financial pickle.
I'm ruined. I have nothing left except Spider-Man.
Okay, gay. At the hospital, a group of doctors prepare to surgically remove Octavius's tentacles, but Sam Raimi must have felt really bad about the lack of kills in the last 40 minutes, so he makes up for it here. In the most Evil Dead reminiscent scene ever, the AI in the arms goes berserk when threatened, and starts killing off the surgeons one by one. Now this was a very difficult scene to count due to all the quick cuts, but I think I counted 11 medical professionals in the operating room at the time. The first doc gets whacked through a glass window, one more is slammed into a table by the neck, a couple more are grabbed and tossed around like rag dolls, or just beaten up off screen. This guy gets shoved into a lamp and electrocuted. One woman is dragged screaming into the darkness, and John Landis is impaled through the gut, so that's nice at least. One of the doctors tries to fight back in a very Ash Williams way, by grabbing the nearest thing to a chainsaw he could find. It doesn't work out too well for him though. In the end, Octavius comes to, and realizing the horror of what went on around him, gives us his best Darth Vader impression. And breaks out of the hospital. In yet another act of self-preservation, the arms flip a taxi onto another taxi, and I don't think either of those drivers are walking away from that. The next day, his rampage starts making headlines, and Jameson is trying to cash in with a fun little supervillain name like he's Newsboy Cisco Ramon or something.
What are we gonna call this guy?
Dr. Octopus.
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good. But it's taken.
Jameson chastises Peter for not getting any pictures of the mad scientist. He then assigns Peter to take some pictures at an upcoming high society gala that will be honoring his son, the astronaut. When Peter asks to be paid in advance, JJ gives us a laugh that launched 1,000 memes.
You serious?
God, I love his performance. Speaking of great performances, after his murder spree, Octavius returned to his lab, only to find it completely destroyed. He waxes poetic to himself about how he's lost everything and it's all his fault, until he starts hearing voices in his head, goading him into rebuilding his solar-powered death machine. Alfred Molina does such a good job in this movie. When he responds to the mechanical whirring of the arms, it's like you can tell exactly what they're saying to him just by his expressions alone. And of course I have to mention the corny Sam Raimi snap zoom on the broken inhibitor chip. Why did he turn around? It's on the back of his neck. It's not like he'd be able to see it. Anyway, the arms convince him to steal the money needed to fund his experiment.
If I were a rich man,
And the newly christened Doc Ock sets off to commit his dastardly deeds. Ironically, he just so happens to use the same bank as Aunt May, so while she and Peter are busy being told by Jeff Winger that the bank won't loan her any money, Otto arrives to make a withdrawal. He's stopped briefly by the security guards, but they're no match for this land octopus, so while he's stealing some ancient gold coins or whatever, Spider-Man swings in to test his might. It seems like it'd be a pretty straightforward fight, right? Peter has superpowers and Otto is just some dude. But, unlike my boyfriend, Peter faces impotence in the face of this big baddie. Spidey manages to hold him off a bit longer, and when the police arrive, Doc Ock takes Aunt May hostage and begins scaling the building like he's freaking King Kong. Peter obviously doesn't take too kindly to ant napping, and tries to get Otto to hand her over. He doesn't do that, but instead tells Peter what his favorite candy bar is.
Butterfingers.
Hey, me too, man.
Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
So while Aunt May is hanging on for dear life, the two super-powered big boys battle it out, giving us another stand-tastic cameo while they're at it. Otto once again grabs Aunt May as a way to bait the web-slinger into a trap, but when she realizes he's been a very naughty boy, she whacks him over the head, throwing him off his rhythm. Spidey saves May from falling to her death, and Otto evades capture with his bounty in hand. At the aforementioned gala, Peter's bad luck once again rears its ugly head when he finds out that not only is the man MJ seeing Jameson's son the astronaut, but he proposes to her right then and there, and she accepts. But only after telling Peter off for being such a bad friend, of course. Plus Harry, who's been drowning his sorrows at the bar, starts antagonizing Peter for not telling him who Spider-Man is. I swear, did this man break like 900 mirrors in his lifetime? Why does everything suck so much all the time? While trying to clear his mind, he once again has trouble shooting his goo. Hey man, stress can do that to a person. Not only that, but he can't climb walls to save his life. He's essentially losing all of his spidery abilities, and he has no idea why. He goes to see a doctor, luckily one with only 4 limbs this time, and his checkup is showing no signs of physical issues. He confides in the physician about his quote-unquote dream, in which he's Spider-Man and he's losing his powers, and Doc McStuffins over here tests out his psychiatry chops and ends up convincing Peter to quit being Spider-Man.
You always have a choice, Peter.
My guy, show me your degree. Later that night, as Peter contemplates his life decisions, he envisions himself having a conversation with Uncle Ben about starting a life of his own. His uncle pulls out an old classic.
With great power comes great responsibility.
But this time it doesn't work, and Peter officially calls it quits.
I'm Spider-Man. No more.
He throws out his costume in a spectacular nod to the Amazing Spider-Man number 50, and immediately, things start looking up for average everyman Peter Parker. He starts to do better in school, he's enjoying street vendor hot dogs, and he even finds time to see Mary Jane's play. After which, they get to talking about her engagement, and Peter begs her to reconsider going out with him now that he has the time. It doesn't work like that, buddy. You fumbled this one, move on.
Punch me, I bleed.
Promise? Honestly, for as much as it sucks when he's miserable, I think Peter's even more insufferable when he's happy. I mean, my guy sees a man being mugged and just walks away. Like, you can still help him. That's just the decent thing to do. What the hell, Penis Parker? To put the final nail in the coffin on the webhead's farewell, a garbage man sells the old Spidey suit to none other than J. Jonah Jameson, who relishes in his impact on Spider-Man's early retirement. Later on, Peter decides to open up to Aunt May about the night of Uncle Ben's death. He sits her down and tells her about the wrestling match, the robbery, and how he let the man get away. Aunt May is, of course, stunned by this revelation and leaves her nephew to sort out her own thoughts. It's a really impactful scene that focuses on Peter's guilt about his part in his uncle's death. Or at least it's really impactful until you watch Spider-Man 3 and realize that none of what he's saying actually mattered at all. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is, and what it is shit.
Oh yeah, there's a villain in this movie. Doc Ock rebuilds the majority of his machine off-screen, but he's missing one more piece, a rare radioactive isotope called tritium, which just so happens to be stored in the Osborn mansion. So he pays a visit to Harry and oh shit, it's Bernard! So he pays a visit to Harry and the two strike a deal. Octavius gets the tritium if Harry gets Spider-Man. He tells Otto that Peter is his best bet in finding Spidey's location and sends him to do a little ruthless interrogating. Meanwhile, Peter witnesses an apartment fire with a kid stuck on the 2nd floor. And it just goes to show you can take the spider out of the man, but you can't take the man out of the spider. Because powers or no powers, he rushes into a burning building to save a person's life. Even without his super strength and agility to fall back on, he ends up saving the kid. But unfortunately, you can't save everyone, my friend, because the firemen confirmed that there was at least one casualty in the fire.
Some poor soul got trapped on the 4th floor.
never made it out.
The next day, his brooding is interrupted by the landlord's daughter bringing him some chocolate cake and a message from Aunt May. He stops by to pay her a visit and finds her packing up to move out. She seems to have gotten over the whole Uncle Ben reveal thing pretty fast though.
It's water over the dam or under the bridge or wherever you like it.
Which may be tied to her vague posting to Peter about how few heroes there are left in the world, and that maybe Spider-Man should think about making a return, wink wink nudge nudge. Peter takes that to heart and heads off to do a bit of training. I guess he must have seen The Matrix with all that free time he had, because he is giving Neo while trying to jump across rooftops.
I'm back! I'm back!
He may need a bit more practice though.
My back. Oh, my back.
MJ, on the other hand, is getting ready to send out wedding invitations when she has her boy toy kiss her in the same way Spider-Man did. To, I guess, see if she gets the same rush from it? I don't know. She's not feeling it though. Maybe she would if he got to turn into a space werewolf like he does in the comics, but no. The world wasn't ready for furry MJ. She invites Peter out for coffee and considers giving him a second chance, which he once again screws up by telling her he suddenly doesn't love her again.
Quit playing games with my heart.
She asks Peter for one of those passionate friend kisses that are all the rage these days to put her mind at ease. But they're interrupted when a fucking car comes crashing through the restaurant window. Holy shit! Turns out Otto's found his prey. And like, he's only tracking down Peter Parker so he can find out where Spider-Man is, right? He doesn't know Peter's Spider-Man, so he's just throwing a car at a random college student. He's not gonna be able to tell you anything if he's fucking dead, now is he? Dumbass. Although I will say the trench coat titties outlook is kinda cunty, not gonna lie. Like, I think I'm starting to understand what my boyfriend's getting at. Oh yeah, slay Octo Daddy. He gives Peter an address for Spider-Man to meet him at, and he straight up kidnaps MJ as collateral. Oh no, wait, it's okay. He just got her CGI doppelganger. She's safe. And so like last time, MJ being in mortal peril is enough to make Spider-Man come out to play, and he steals a suit back from JJ's office in probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
Spider-Man was a hero. I just couldn't see it. He was a thief!
So Spidey and Doc Ock start fighting on a clock tower and end up falling onto a moving train. This leads to one of the most iconic scenes in superhero movie history, when after an intense fight, Doc Ock decides to stall Spidey by permanently setting the train to full steam ahead and cutting the brakes. He makes his escape once more while Peter is left trying to find a way to slow down this unstoppable force and save the passengers, including famous voice actor Phil Lamar. Must be on his way to record some lines for Futurama. Hey, that's 2 Futurama references I've made in this video. I love Futurama. He tries holding it back, catching it with webbing, but nothing seems to work. Eventually, he tries that last idea again, only this time with more webs, and it seems to do the trick, albeit at the cost of Tobey Maguire's constipated face making a reappearance. The stress on his body knocks the wall crawler unconscious, but just like the first movie, the people of New York protect their hero as he protects them. We also get the iconic line,
He's just a kid. No older than my son.
and like, at this point, this dude's pushing 30, calm down. There's a heartfelt moment where the passengers give Spider-Man his mask back. Yeah, he lost his mask in the process, I just didn't know where to put that in. And only once he's decent again does Doc Ock show up. How polite. The passengers try to defend our hero, but Otto just parts them like the Red Sea and captures the incapacitated Bug Boy. He gives Harry his new prized possession, and takes the rest of the tritium for himself. Harry prepares a dagger, and because he needs full satisfaction, he unmasks Spider-Man and is surprised to find his best friend staring back at him. Peter breaks free from his bindings and asks Harry for help in finding out where Otto's keeping MJ, and it seems that the mention of tritium is enough for Peter to put 2 and 2 together. Octavius turns on the machine, and while it once again starts tearing the environment around it apart, it also tries to light up a little Mary Jane, if you know what I'm talking about. She's saved last minute, and Otto is incapacitated when Spidey electrocutes him, allowing him a chance to pull the plug once more. Unfortunately, it seems the device is too powerful for that to work this time, and starts expanding its range of destruction to the New York streets. The electrocution seems to have short-circuited the mechanical arms, giving Otto Octavius a brief window to control his own mind once more. Peter unmasks himself to get through to his fallen idol, and asks for a way to stop the machine. The arms don't want to comply, but no amount of AI tentacle strangling is a match for the kind heart of character actor Alfred Molina. Octavius takes back control of his steel appendages, and confirms the worst when he tells Peter that the device has become self-sustaining, and is unable to be stopped. Unless he were to drown it. Now that doesn't sound right, but I don't know enough about the son to dispute it. As the good doctor prepares to stop the machine himself, Peter saves MJ's life, again, revealing his identity to her in the process. And then, with the immortal last words,
"I will not die a monster,"
Dr. Otto Octavius pulls the machine into the river, saving New York and sacrificing himself along the way. I guess it's a poetic death, if not for the fact that this is the one octopus who couldn't survive underwater. Peter and MJ have a heart-to-heart about the risk-reward lifestyle of being Spider-Man's gal pal, with Peter flat out saying that they can never be together. Like, no offense, but isn't it her life at risk? Shouldn't she be able to make that decision? Meanwhile, Harry, still reeling from the whole Peter Parker killed my father thing, is visited by the ghost of his dead dad, with Willem Dafoe reprising his role. It's kind of like how Peter had a vision about Uncle Ben earlier in the film, only eviler. He demands Harry avenge his death, and inadvertently leads him to Norman's secret goblin lair, full of masks and bombs and cylinders full of ecto-cooler, setting up a sequel where Harry becomes the new goblin. I wonder what creative name they're gonna pick for him to use in the next one. I can't wait to find out. So at last, it's MJ's wedding day. And do you remember how I said it should be her choice whether or not she dates Spider-Man? Well, apparently she agrees with me because she chooses to be with Peter anyway. And how does she do this, you might ask? By leaving her fiancé at the altar. Damn it, both of you guys suck. You deserve each other. Yeah, take that, John Jameson. That'll teach you to be a genuinely nice guy who has absolutely zero character traits other than being an astronaut. So she and Peter end up together, they kiss.
Go get him, Tiger.
And roll credits. In total, I counted 19 kills in Spider-Man 2, the exact same number as the first movie. Wild. The Platinum Batarang for coolest kill goes to all of the doctors in that amazing horror movie murder scene. The direction is impeccable, the terror is captured on their faces so perfectly, and all of it while Doc Ock lies there completely unconscious. It's just magnificent. Great job to everyone involved. Except for John Landis. Fuck John Landis. The Rusty Shield for lamest kill goes to the building fire casualty. If only Spider-Man were there to save you. Spider-Man 2 came out in 2004, and was once again a commercial and critical success. It even ended up winning an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. I guess they missed the CGI Mary Jane scene. The massive success of this film has led countless fans and critics to laud it as the greatest superhero movie of all time. And do I agree with that? Well, I think it's certainly an amazing film. It's got great characters, great writing, a great villain, and great directing. Is it perfect? No, but nothing is. Hell, it's not even my favorite superhero movie ever made. That honor goes to The Incredibles. Much like the first one, this is cheesy, campy comic book fun, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate it for the work of art that it is. There's a reason that it's still held up on a pedestal even 20 years later. Wait, 20 years? Jesus, I feel old. Next time, we'll cover the inevitable sequel that followed, one that is not nearly as beloved by fans, unless you're my boyfriend and you think Spider-Man 3 is one of the greatest films of all time. I don't know about that, but we can at least see if it matches its predecessors in the amount of kills it has. So until next time, see you then, super friends.